They are suggesting pills for an ailment that mankind is not suffering from. It is not the space outside Earth that is depleting elements of life, but the inhabitants of the Earth itself. We rather need that space research, which could enable us to preserve Earth better. It is foolish to rejoice in irrelevant knowledge that doesn't directly benefit anyone except professionals of that field. All knowledge of Western cosmology and astrophysics is useless, unless it could discern and reveal how the cosmos influences mankind, or for that matter, any individual. The scope of their knowledge fails to go beyond what their telescopes, radars, and gadgets are revealing. How cosmic bodies and radiations, except maybe solar radiations, influence human life experiences has all along been utterly out of syllabus for them. In the 1950s, Burke and Franklin recorded strong signals they believed were coming from a pulsar. It was only later, in April 1955, they realized that the same were actually emanating from high RPM Jupiter, behaving or simulating besides being utterly close to Earth as compared to the nearest pulsar. It is not a mere coincidence that Vedic astrology, or VA, signifies Jupiter as the strongest cosmic influence on human life, next only to probably the Sun metaphorically. It is said that a person with beneficially placed Jupiter in his horoscope would go unhurt in crossing a pit filled with 100 cobras. Western cosmology, though startled by what they recorded, failed to make out anything further from the happenings. What could have been a eureka moment for astrophysics and cosmology of the West was wasted due to their dogmatic approach and myopic viewpoint. So far, Western cosmology has garnered but only the self-serving kind of knowledge, and yet some among them, like Neil deGrasse Rubbish v.a., without any real or working exposure to the same. The ongoing conflict of views between Western astrophysics and ancient VA of Sanatana draws many ill comments from the scholars of the former. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Dr. Becky are leading astrophysicists of West who have mocked astrology on many platforms. They firmly proclaim cosmic entities do not influence any human being's life in any way, and all astrology is trash. They further declare planetary motions do not influence human beings. Let us watch a clip from the interview of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
A lot of people I know are super into astrology, and I'm wondering if the planetary and star alignment has anything to do with people's behavior.
Oh, okay. That reminds me of a really cool meme where the Bachelor in Australia, who, by the way, was an astrophysicist in the last season, he's an actual astrophysicist, and the girl walks up and she goes, "Oh, hi, what do you do?" And he says, "Oh, I'm an astrophysicist." And she goes, "Oh, that's so cool. I'm a Gemini."
Did he say next? Oh, I got a story. They tell the story, they put it in the sky, named gods after it, and now you're going to say that the stories of these sleepless civilizations have such meaning that these stars in your night sky, which would look different from any other angle, somehow know that you were born and wants to influence you.
Well, everything you said so far makes perfect sense to me.
I'm just saying that it's a holdover from a pre-scientific era when we genuinely thought the Earth was in the middle of the known universe. And that is not the case. No. So the answer is no. None of this has any effect on us at all.
Now, retrograde is a word that we use in astronomy as well. It essentially means the planet looks like it's moving backwards on the sky. Not a big deal to astronomers at all, just kind of cool thing to notice. But just because the planets appear to be going backwards on the sky doesn't mean they're actually going backwards in reality. They're still going to be orbiting around the sun, just at a slightly slower speed than we are on Earth, closer in towards the sun. So what happens is when Saturn appears to be going retrograde is that it's been happily orbiting up here, and then Earth all of a sudden has been sort of orbiting behind it, seeing it move forward in the sky, but then all of a sudden Earth overtakes Saturn in its orbit, and so you appear from Earth to see Saturn going backwards. The same way that if you overtake another car at a faster speed on a motorway, for a while as a stationary passenger, when you look out the window, it looks like that other car is actually going backwards, when in essence it's not. It's still going forwards, clearly. So It's not anything to do with the planet itself. It's not anything to do with us humans on Earth. It's all just to do with perspective. But from what I can tell in astrology, retrograde is bad, at least for the outer planets like Saturn and Jupiter. I think the inner planets also do retrograde, but a lot more often because they orbit at a lot faster speed than Earth. And so astrologers have just decided, oh, because that happens so often, that's not relevant. But the outer planets that don't go into retrograde very often, that's bad. And as far as I can tell, it's bad because that means change and something different is happening. I don't always think that change is a bad thing, but, you know, I'm not making up the rules here. Astrologers are making up the rules. So this brings me to my next point, that horoscopes are just not consistent with each other at all. It's almost as if they really are just making up the rules as they go. And your star sign is a complete and utter load of
who mocks the ancients as sleepless civilizations, who only indulged in star-gazing and giving names to stars' constellations, as if by connecting dots. The video host also mocked a follower of astrology as stupid. Neil deGrasse joins and mocks further by terming followers of astrology as the ones looking at sky and cooking up stories. Further, that star constellations, which would look different from any other angle, could really mean anything they are stated to personify. Still further, shocking to believe that they somehow know you are born and want to influence you. The host mockingly agrees. Neil deGrasse making perfect sense to him. Neil says, all this is a holdover from the pre-scientific era, when we genuinely believed that Earth was at the center of the universe, and this is not the case. As such, none of this affects us at all. Dr. Becky, another famous Western astrophysicist, nearly mocks astrological theories from their belief of retrograde planets exerting influences differently. Just because planets appear to be going backward from Earth means that they are actually going back in reality. She elaborates upon the physical movement of the planets in the solar system in orbits around the Sun. She uses graphical presentation to show how actually the physical movement is taking place in geocentric outlook. She illustrates with the help of the relative motion between two cars and one overtaking the other. She says, it has nothing to do with reality but perspective. She explains that inner planets of the solar system seem to go retrograde more often than the outer ones. It seems she wants to rubbish the retrograde planets' different influences theories, asserting that outer planets going retrograde is banned. She limits retrograde planets signify change and nothing beyond. She sees no point in astrologers attaching retrogression to different influences than when they are in direct motion. One could very well remark, even as a layman, that West's astrophysics has failed to traverse beyond physicality and measurements. They simply couldn't discern correlation between human experiences and the motion of celestial bodies. They have, however, managed to find an estimate of planetary motions in orbits and physical distances. Their knowledge of cosmic influences is limited to the signals and radiations registered by non-living telescopes, radars, and gadgets. Besides solar radiation's influences on human body, they knew nothing about influences exerted by electromagnetic and other radiations from other cosmic bodies, most prominently the planets. The influences of solar radiations on human body are more or less a matter of layman knowledge. However, Western astrophysics and cosmology really know nothing at all about subtle EM radiations and reflections of many other kinds, say, for example, moonlight, which is reflected sunlight. My own copyrighted discovery about reflected radiations reveals things about these reflections. Solar radiations striking planets and reflecting back to other entities exert influences including on life on Earth. It is now confirmed even from modern Western methodology that Earth receives EM and other radiations emanating from distant galaxies and star constellations. These radiations influence human body in subtle and invisible ways. Take the example of magnetic refractive imaging, or MRI, which exposes human body to strong E.M radiations in a very short span of time. Post-MRI, people experience symptoms of many kinds, including headaches and nervous system distress. This happens due to abnormal exposure to E.M radiations. Exposure to E.M radiations that ought to happen in years is delivered in 10 to 15 odd minutes time. We are prompt to acknowledge influence of EM radiations on human body, but mockingly deny the same over a longer period of time by cosmic bodies, which Vedic astrology discerned, registered, and revealed. Even the modern Western cosmology can't deny the plethora of E.M radiations that come Earth's way. Let us recall their observation of the last century when they had first registered the strong E.M signals coming from the direction of Sagittarius constellation. By the strength and periodicity, they mistook the same to be originating from a pulsar. It was only after much treasure hunt and analysis they realized the same to be sourced by high RPM Jupiter. Our channel has a small video on Jupiter which viewers could find interesting. Jupiter sends signals as strong, consistent, and periodic as would a pulsar, and quite mesmerizingly, it is disproportionately close to Earth as compared to the nearest pulsar, light years away. One could exclaim wow about Vedic astrology, which precisely knew about subtle, yet strong influences of Jupiter on the life on Earth, since eternity. Metaphorically Ved, it proclaims anyone with well-placed strong Jupiter in his birth horoscope would cross unhurt pit filled with 100 cobras. Jupiter's strong EM radiations and magnetic field stands verified by observations by Western astrophysics in the year 1955. They somehow failed to connect the dots which V.A did a long time ago. V.A has 4 distinct wings, namely astronomy, mathematics, predictions, and remedies. The last one, that is remedies, is the cutting edge of V.A, which suggests specific actions and acquiescence for positive changes to the life experiences. E.g., someone with strongly placed Jupiter in horoscope is advised to become vegetarian and not consume alcohol. And it works positively. My own example, wearing gold ring for K2, yellow sapphire for Jupiter, and ruby for Sun, has occasioned a total life upgrade for me. I am myself a living example of how the V.A actually works in real life. As against 4 distinct wings and their combined working of V.A, West's astrophysics, cosmology, etc. have not gone beyond the first 2 levels of the former, i.e. astronomy and mathematics, despite them having deployed advanced telescopes, radars, supercomputers and gadgets, general relativity, mathematics, and algorithms. Since they have failed to move beyond first 2 levels, so they proclaim the knowledge of V.A beyond this as trash and superstition. It is foolish to rejoice in irrelevant knowledge that doesn't directly benefit anyone except professionals of that field. Western cosmology and astrophysics are merely self-serving. They have not managed to provide practically useful knowledge for preserving life on the Earth, individually as well as collectively. Their research is misdirected and fails as well to preserve elements of life on the Earth. They are suggesting pills for an ailment that mankind is not suffering from. It is not the space outside Earth that is depleting elements of life, but the inhabitants of the Earth itself. We rather need that space research, which could enable us to preserve Earth better through understanding of how cosmic entities influenced us. Western astrophysics, cosmology, etc. are exactly opposite of this, and at that merely self-serving. To make things worse, they trashed the superscientific VA, which did exactly what was needed for the good of mankind and life on the Earth. It is something similar to a primary student trashing the PhD-level knowledge, owing to one's utter ignorance. This is the sum total of the orientation of the West's astrophysics and cosmology. It is high time the world reverted back to exploring the Vedic astrology, which would require team effort. Me, you, and even thousands wouldn't be enough to revive the colossal reservoir of ancient knowledge. We need energy of our youth to study, observe, and co-relate human interactions with cosmic bodies. Only then we could possibly revive Vedic astrology to enrich the lives of every living being on the Earth. Thank you, friends. Vedic astrology is a living wisdom even this day.